and really helping elevate a program that was at a point where Clark had done a really good job building it up, but it kind of needed to elevate. I know he was a driving force behind that, just talking to all those people. So, again, he's an undrafted rookie free agent. He's got his foot in the door, and it's like, do what you want to do with it now.
Is there a part of the thing with a guy like him, the background he had, the way he had to come up through the, kind of from the bottom? Is there almost a thought that a coach kind of likes a guy like that that's been an underdog his whole life?
I don't even necessarily. I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's like this guy played quarterback in the SEC and played at a really high level. And at the end of the day, that's really as simple as it is. He has had a lot of experiences. He's had to kind of grind through it, learn from a lot of different things. Took advantage, really, of some chaos in college football with eligibility rules to even be able to go back for another year. And took advantage of it. Ended up probably making himself a lot of money through NIL and finishing in the top 2 or 3 in the Heisman vote. So it's a really cool story for him. For us, we see it as an opportunity to bring a player in that could potentially be something, and that's really what this is for us.
It's so important this time of year for players to start gelling and figure things out. What's it like for your staff to you've got to try and gel as a staff too? What's kind of that process like?
It's just working together, and it's going through these experiences. And when you go through, we had the voluntary camp with our returning players. Now we have this. It really gives us an edge going into OTAs to have those 4 or 5 practices of working together, kind of feeling out how I operate on the field, feeling how each other operate, knowing the drills that we like to do, the tempo that we like to do things at. So just the more you work together and do things like that, the better it becomes. And so just like you want a player to get a little bit better each day, get a little bit better each time out there, it's the same with the coaches.
Jesse, the pre-snap activity over there between the two calisthenics periods, one thing I noticed was a lot of pre-snap chatter there. It's a bunch of undrafted rookies and guys who are here for the first time. Wouldn't necessarily expect that. Is it really encouraging?
Yeah, I mean, you can't play this game quiet, and you can't play this game with doubt, and you can't play this game without knowing what you're doing. And so, I know from a defensive standpoint, like, we should be the loudest, most crazy, obnoxious communicating unit in the history of football. And that's the rookies doing that. And so I give credit to the coaches that they have those guys prepared to come out here and be able to be like that. That's really the standard that we're trying to create. When you communicate and you're on the same page and you know what you're doing, you've got a much better chance of being successful. So, and the whole idea is that when you do it over and over again, you do it here, you do it every play, that it doesn't matter if it's the first play of the season against whoever, or in a game in December, or in a game in February. That's the standard of how we operate, and we lead ourselves to success in those moments if we operate like that all the time.
It's early for roster questions, but are you comfortable with 4 quarterbacks on your roster throughout the offseason? Is that the number you'd like it to be at, given, whether you're going to be able to get all these guys reps and all that?
I think that's a little bit in flux, I would say. We'll kind of look at it coming out of this. I think there's a place for anywhere from 3 to 5, honestly, especially for the offseason, just to kind of make sure that we have everything covered and we're getting guys different looks and kind of what we're looking for. So I think that could be in flux, whether there's veterans out there that we may want to look at, or even a couple of the rookies. But I think that's a room you're always trying to just find that perfect number, and we'll continue to do that.
Jesse, what's the process translating what you see scouting onto the field now in practice?
I mean, truthfully, that part's over now in a sense. We did the whole process, and we decided to pick those players for our team. And so, we pretty much felt like they all had traits that could translate to play the style of play that we want to play. Now it's about really starting from scratch, and these guys need to learn everything about how we operate. Now Vega is so athletic and so powerful that I know he can learn the footwork, but it's got to be the way that the exact way that Coach Ledford wants it done. So it's that they have the traits to be able to do the things that we want to do, and then going back to the ground level and making sure that they're doing everything in the way that we want. Yeah, I mean, what I told him is we all really liked him as a player. We all really wanted him. It was really cool to see that. Steve did a great job, but he's a guy that was kind of right there on the board at that time when we picked him. He's a really good player. Excited to see what he brings to the table. Extreme versatility, I would say, on the offensive side and in special teams. And so you love having guys like that. Kind of see if they can find themselves a niche in this league.
Two more. Yes, what was your reaction to Clay's game?
Stoked. We've agreed to terms with Calais. He'll be here sometime this week to kind of finalize things, and really excited about it. This guy, he had 6.5 sacks last year. He's still playing at such an unbelievable level. We all know what type of man and person and teammate and leader that he is, and so that's like. But this is because he's such a really good player, at this age and where he's at. He'll really help us. He'll be great for the young guys, of course, because that's who Calais is. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings on the field in between the lines. And I really think he'll help us both in the run and pass game.
What's your message overall to the kids as they try to come in and go off the pro where it's not that different now, but trying to take jobs of guys they probably watched growing up?
Yeah, the rookie, the message for those guys is like every day has to be the most important day of your career now. If you really want to make it and you really want to find that consistency, like every meeting, every rep is the most important rep. And especially from a mental standpoint. It's not always going to be 1,000 miles an hour physically, but every opportunity in the meeting room, in the weight room, in the walkthroughs, every rep's the most important rep of your career. And when you treat it like that, you begin to stack and you begin to learn, and that's how you gain trust. For these guys, it's not always about gaining the trust of me or the coaches. It's really about gaining the trust of our veterans and our leaders. And they can do that over the course of the rest of the offseason programming and training camp. And most of the time, in my experience, even as just a defensive coach, the veteran players come to you and say, hey, that rookie's ready to help us. Before you even say that as a coach. And so I look forward to these guys just kind of being themselves, showing what they can do, and let the veterans kind of see what we've added to the team.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
It's a real feeling, honestly. It's like a dream come true. I'm out here with a lot of other rookies. We all just got one common goal, make a team. Just come out here, have fun, and do what we do.
I hear a lot of people project you to slot automatically in the NFL. How does that feel for you? You still think you play on the outside?
Yeah, I feel like I can play both outside and slide, and I feel like that's what makes me versatile.
Chandler, you play a lot of plays on the ball, your receptions in college. Some quarters don't have that skill set. Why do you feel like that was something you expect?
I mean, I feel like I just come from playing hard, honestly. Just playing hard, doing what you're supposed to do, get things happen, supposed to do what you're supposed to do.
With Jesse being a former defensive backs coach, do you feel any extra eyes or pressure on you when he's watching you practice?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say pressure, but I would just say it's a blessing to have somebody of that caliber, like being your coach now. So it's pretty cool, honestly.
For the full team this year, is there something you're looking forward to? Is there somebody you want to pick your brain? Just sort of that you've been watching for a while and you want to talk to get to know good?
Yeah, I would say everybody in that corner's room, honestly, just see, because they got a few guys that's been here 10 years, like in the league 10 years. So I mean, see how they stuck, how they lasted so long. Then they got some younger guys in the room and stuff. So just getting those guys, just picking their brain on whatever I may have a question about.
Take us through when you call and you hear that this next is the actually the one that you're talking to.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. Having that opportunity to get the call from the owner, and just having an opportunity for him and Coach Winnie to have a relationship, and that kind of worked out. Me being in Baltimore with a great organization, and Mr. Bashadi being the guy that called me, it was definitely a shock. But I will say that I'm extremely appreciative for him and Coach Sweeney and the Baltimore organization for having me here, and I'm going to give it my all. I think, just it speaks to the testament of the Clemson program, and the people that he recruits, When I committed to Clemson back when I was a junior in high school, I knew that that was the place that I wanted to be, and that was the place that I wanted to make home. And when I commit to somewhere, that's where I call home. And I didn't want to ever leave there, and I gave it my all. And, I did everything that I could to make it work there, and that's why I moved positions. That's why I switched from wide receiver to running back, and it helped me in my career and it helped the team last year. So I think it was a win-win for both of us, and I think that Coach Sweeney saw that the opportunity that he gave me worked out, and just my character and as a player on and off the field. I think that's just kind of how he was reflecting in the most recent interviews, and while he was giving his insight to Mr. Shine.
Take us through the conversion from wide receiver to running back, just how that went.
It was kind of a need for our position or our team going into the next year. We only had redshirt freshmen running backs and incoming freshmen, and Coach Sweeney wanted a vet in the room, and you saw my size, my speed, and my pass catching ability. Also, just my knack for running after the catch while I had the ball, and we both came to the conclusion that it could definitely be a good possibility and also a good thing for me to show my versatility for the next level. And I think it just worked out last year that I had the opportunity to show my versatility in many games and on tape. So that's really what carried me into the place I am right now.
I'm sure you're excited to work with Derrick Henry for a lot of reasons, but also the fact there's not many running backs of your height. He's about there too. What are you looking for to learn from him, and anything about that in particular, Mike?
I'm just looking forward to being able to get in the room and see how he works, and also all the other guys. Just see how they are pro, and just being at the Ravens organization, I know that they have great players and great men in their position rooms, and I'm just going to be a sponge and a fly on the wall. Just in that meeting room, and take everything that I can, apply it to my game. Like Derrick Henry being taller stature like I am, I'm just going to continue to learn how to work with my pad load, shorten up my strides, just to continue to be a better running back. I think he's a really, really good guy. I think he's a really good coach. Somebody that I can get down and plan for, and give him my all for. Someone that I think that really cares about his players and really cares about the details of the game. That's somebody that I can get with. So I really have been impressed with what I've been around for the last 2 days. Just to soak it all in, enjoy the environment, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the dream that has come true, but also, immerse yourself into the culture, be able to learn and, get on a routine and a schedule that works for yourself. And once you do that, just start to get into the playbook and see if you can earn your spot or way onto the field in any role possible with that, whether that is special teams or in my case on the offensive side of the ball, and just continue to get better as a player overall.
Chance, I don't know if you ever knew him at all, but playing with Diego Fabio the last couple of days, you got any kind of feel for him?
He's a really good guy, really good, a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder. I got the experience at the Senior Bowl. I really think me and him just kind of building rapport. Running back, quarterback exchange is really huge in football that a lot of people don't talk about. So I think that he has a great energy and attitude, and he's a competitor. So that's really all you can ask for in a teammate. And I know he's going to give it his all every time he steps on the field.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Definitely the level of detail going from college to the NFL. I mean, it's a lot more. There's a lot more emphasis on the detail of every single route, every single run, and they really want to make the why of why we're running this play and why it works, why it doesn't, and it's mainly about the details.
You've heard a lot of times the Ravens double dipping at tight end and the second guy that's happening and ends up really working out. Anything about that, or particularly with being more of a flex guy? Do you expect much of a
I can't really say much about that right now. I'm still trying to fit into my role, see kind of where they see me at, mostly out here. They're kind of using both of us everywhere, a little bit in line, a little bit spread out. But one thing's for sure, Hibby and I are going to work off of each other. We're going to, help each other out wherever we can, and see where that works out. Yeah, I first met him at the Senior Bowl. He was on the national team. I was on the American team. We were just kind of going at it, but I mean, Tight ends really, we always stick together no matter where we're at. So, even if they are on the other team, like we're going to say what's up, we're going to say hi to each other. So that's where I initially met him. And then saw him again at the Combine. We ended up getting closer there, just talking a lot, wishing each other luck in the process, and it ultimately worked out. Look at where we are now. So it's good that we made that introduction as early as we did.
There's big things front office here. Have you had any chance to interact with them? Does he come up to you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So after practice yesterday, he kind of came up to me just saying, "Roll Tide, man. Like, I'm so happy you're here." I was kind of starstruck when he got on the phone with me, because all we talked about at Alabama and the tight end room was really kind of like the legends that walked through here and the standards we need to uphold. That man holds all the records, receiving and all the stuff like that. So it's like something that we look up to and we strive for. So when I met him yesterday, I was how you're usually supposed to go one hand and like that's more professional. I was like, I'm trying to hold on to my hand longer, please. But no, it was great meeting him, just kind of seeing a legend in front of my face. That's what Baltimore gives you. So.
Josh, in the SEC, did you ever go up against one-on-one rep Zion in Alabama, Missouri game?
Yeah, there was a few times, and there's many questions asked about, Zion during the combine process, and some coaches would ask me like, who's one of the hardest players you've gone against, and initially whoever popped in my head, Zion Young. And Zion Young, he's got so much potential, and his ceiling is just tremendously high, and he does everything right. He's got a deep bag, spin move, push, pull, bull rush, everything. So yeah, we've gone up against each other a few times. One of the other guys actually went up against him one-on-one, and he kind of did a little chop move, and I did that to him in Mizzou. And he's like, "You taught him that?" And I was like, "Shoot, I don't know. There's a vet move right there." But we kind of go back and forth to each other. He's a good guy.
What's the best trait you as a player?
I think his willingness to do anything. Whatever the coaches put him at, he's pretty mobile. His lateral speed is pretty good. So, line him up against a tight end, a tackle, he's going to get around him. So I think his willingness to do whatever it is, he's going to get it done.
Try and get your way to tight end university this summer?
I'm going to try, hopefully. Being around a bunch of the guys, learning from the best. You can only get better in that environment. So hopefully I do make it, yeah.
I knew you were on the opposite side of the field at Diego Pavia in college, but how did you get to know him at all through the process, or Fahir, or impressions from way back then too?
Not really. I had the opportunity to meet him just the other day. Just kind of sat down, had a meal together, just talking. Because during the process it's pretty hectic. So like quarterbacks kind of stick over there, and tight ends we stick over there, and there's not really much interaction going on. And during the Senior Bowl too, he was there, and he was on the national side, and he was doing kind of his own thing, and we were all trying to learn a brand new playbook within a few days, so everybody was kind of keeping to themselves and doing that stuff. But no, I actually sat down with him the other day. We talked it up.
Well, how was that? Did you learn anything about him?
No, it was good. Yeah. We just kind of talked experience on just how it was at like Vanderbilt, and how it was at Alabama, just kind of the games going on. We talked about 2024, 2025, just like those games and stuff. But not really like a super deep conversation. It was kind of like quick because we wanted to get studying again, because we're also being hit with another playbook here. So it's like we kind of need that extra time to study. So pretty shallow conversation, but it was good.
Josh, Coach Gross doesn't have a huge resume as a tight end coach. So what stuck out to you about his mastery of that position?
Just the way he kind of teaches the offense. Like when I think of a tight end coach, I really want somebody to kind of emphasize like the details of it, so we know exactly like the steps we need to take, the depth we need to take, and things like that. And Coach really does a good job kind of explaining that in meetings, and he's going to take the time with you if you need it. First thing he does is leave like 5 minutes at the beginning, just for questions that you ask, and then he's going to explain it as best he can, and then get into the install right away. But he goes at a good pace, and that works for me, and that's what really has caught my eye so far.
Josh, how excited are you to kind of get this starting over process? You talked about learning a new playbook, on a new team at a new level, so just kind of hitting that reset button.
Yeah, it's pretty much a blank slate, and you just kind of, there's not really much to say about it. It's really just kind of going out there and putting in the work, and just getting better from that point on. But as a rookie, you can't come in here and acting like the big dog, because really you're a small fish in a bigger pool now. So a good transition for me is really kind of getting to know some of the vets and getting my foot in the door and trying my best and earning that respect there.
All right, thank you, Josh.
Appreciate being Kyron Hudson, my teammate from Penn State, and we were just talking after practice yesterday. It's a crazy feeling knowing that you're wearing the NFL shield on your chest now, playing in the league. We just finished our first practice in the NFL. It's definitely a feeling of being blessed. Definitely would have pictured myself here a while ago, but just happy that I'm here now.
What has struck you about working with Coach Ledford?
He's energetic. I'm talking about every day. It's not just out here; it's in the meeting room. Whether you're walking down the hallway with him, he's always energetic. He's talking about different things more than just ball. It's a good thing to have in the line room. Separate ball and life talk type of things like that, just to clear your mind up a little bit, refresh, reset, things like that. But he's a phenomenal coach. I've been with him for 3 days now, so I've learned a lot from him.
Left side, left guard. Right side. How big of adjustment is it to go from left guard to right side?
Yeah, for me at Penn State, I played both left and right, a little bit of center as well. Shout out to Phil Charlton, my line coach at Penn State. He made sure every day we were rotating left and right just to get used to it. But out here, it's definitely a little bit of work to get used to again, but ain't much to it.
Other than kind of transitioning out of everything that goes along with preparing for the draft and then going to the draft itself, to now actually being able to get back to playing football?
It's been a long process, man. It's been about 4 months, something like that. But I'd say after the draft, I flew out the next morning. I got like 4 hours of sleep, like I said before. Touchdown and left again in like 12 hours. So definitely a long process, but I'm just happy that I'm here now, back to football, back to where where it belongs. So.
Great. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
appreciate y'all. Thank you.